what all do we have? First, we'll see what Excel workspace is. Okay, so let me quickly open Excel. So you can go to your start and you can just type in Excel app. Okay, so Excel is in various versions. You have 2016, 2019, you have one Excel, okay, and then you have the older ones as well. Right now, not many people would be using the older ones because Windows itself doesn't support the older versions of Excel. But in case there's someone who is still using Windows 7, you know, though it is not used anymore, but in case someone use Windows 7, you still might have such people. Okay, so in that, the older versions of Excel will be used. Okay, older versions of Excel means before 2013. Okay, okay, so now I have opened Excel. Okay, this is called a workbook. When I say Excel file, it is called workbook. In an Excel workbook, you have sheets. Okay, in an Excel workbook, you have sheets which like this, which is a sheet 1. You can add more sheets. Okay, you can add sheet 2, you can add sheet 3. Okay, you can add sheets like this, and you can delete as well. So you right click and you click on delete. Okay, so like this you can add or delete your sheets. So you understand now what is a workbook. Workbook is nothing but a collection of worksheets, and that is what an Excel file is. So when you store a file, when you store an Excel file, you are actually saving a workbook, or you are actually saving a workbook. Okay, so you know what is a workbook and what is a worksheet. Okay, now I will see what is a column, row, and a cell name. Okay, what is a cell actually is. Okay, so whatever you see here in this sheet, okay, this is called column A, B, C, D. Okay, then whatever you see here horizontally, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, this is called rows. Okay, so these are called columns and these are called rows. Now, if you see column B, right, this is column B and this is column 2. This cell, this is called a cell, okay, where a column and a row meet is called a cell. Okay, now this cell is where B and 2 meets, right? So the address or the name of this cell is called B2. Okay, why? Because this in this cell, column B and row 2 meets each other. Okay, that's why this is B2, right? This B2 you can also see here. The name of the column, sorry, the name of the cell will also be shown here, which is B2. Now, one quick thing on sheets. So when you can select or you can create or you can delete a sheet, right? You can rename a sheet. Okay. So for example, I can say this as the main sheet. Okay. So what I did, I double clicked on the sheet name and this comes up, and then I can write this can be the supportive sheet. Okay. So it is main and it is supportive. Also, what you can do is you can right click and click on rename. By this way also you can rename. So there are two ways: either you double click here or you right click here. Okay, next thing with sheets is you can hide a sheet. Now you have some data here. Okay, so you give some data 1, 2, 3, and you don't want to show this data, okay, to your main sheet. Okay, so what you do is you can right click, you can hide your sheet. Okay, you can hide your sheet. With this, what happens is the person to whom you are sending this Excel file will not be able to see that sheet. But if he wants to, what he can do is he can right click and unhide. So he or she can right click on unhide, and you can see then all the sheets which are hidden in this. So right now it's only one sheet, so supportive. I can click on it and okay. So I can get the sheet back. Okay, so this is how you can hide or unhide sheets. Okay, and and like I've told you how to work with the rows and the columns, and what is a cell name. What you can also do is you can color your sheets. When I say color your sheets mean, for example, I right click there, I click on tab, and I can go to a color. Okay, you see this green. For main, I can go to maybe this color, red color, okay, orange. So these colors are kind of an indicators, okay, you can use. For example, you have got a workbook with 10 sheets, okay. In few sheets you have made the changes, okay, you were supposed to make some changes to the sheets. In few of them you have made the changes, in few of them you have some doubts. So the ones sheets where you have make the changes, you can just color them green. On the ones where you have not make changes and you have doubts, you can, put them in red color. So this was a use case where you can, have colors for the sheets. There are many other use cases. Like for example, in few companies, they have color codes that okay, there are few sheets which should have a specific color. Okay, so in that case, you need to color your sheets. And when I say color your sheets or the tab names, it's this place which is getting colored. Okay, not the entire sheet. It's just this place. Okay, so we know about the columns, the rows, and the cell names. Okay, next what we will see is how do we enter data. Now, just now if you saw, I had entered 1, 2, and 3. So what I did actually is I went to a cell, okay, and I entered. For example, name. Okay, then address. Okay, so for example, name I give John. Okay. So what I did is I just clicked here and I started writing it, writing whatever I want to write. That is a way of doing it. Okay. Now I can also do I can click here. I can go to this place. Okay. This is called the formula bar. Okay. This is a formula bar where you can write anything. You can write a formula. You can write any text also. Okay. Later, when we go to formulas, we will see how to write a formula. For now, just understand how to write a text. Okay, so with name I can write, okay, so I can write John like I was saying, and then I can write address as Delhi, for example. Okay, so I write John and I write Delhi. So generally we don't go here, okay, unless and until we have to write some formulas or we have to edit something. Now if I am writing an address which is maybe just some dummy address, some 1101 new place, new place, okay, New Delhi, New Delhi, some 1000111 something, okay, some address. Now you see, because this address was very big, it crossed this column and it went to other columns, okay. There are many things you can do with this now. So either you can wrap around, okay, so you see this wrap text. So with this, what happens is whatever your column width was there, right? It will adjust there. Your address will adjust there. Okay. And ideally you should do this, but then not in this way. I'll show you how. Now I want to go back to the previous state. Okay. So I want to go back to this. So what do? I do Control Z or the undo button. If you see here, we get the undo button. So I do Control Z or undo button. These both are same. So I go to the previous one. So basically, the use of Control Z is to undo any action you have done. You can go to till 10 steps of undoing your data or your operations basically. And to redo, that is if you want to go back to this form, so what you do is you do Control Y. Okay, so remember the shortcuts Control Z and Control Y. Okay, by this you can undo and redo. Okay, one quick tip here, we are very much used to use mouse in our excel work, okay, or any work at in the computer, mouse or the mouse pad in laptop. Okay, if you want to be faster in your work in Excel, try to stop using mouse and you start using keyboard shortcuts. Now, when you start with it, you will see that you are very slow because the speed with which you were doing by using mouse is has now become more than when you are using keyboards, because now right now you don't know. But when you push yourself or you force yourself to use keyboard shortcuts only and not the mouse, after some point of time the keyboard shortcuts will be will be easy for you, and you will remember them very easily, and your hands will go there directly, you won't even think. Okay, so I would always suggest force yourself to start using keyboard shortcuts. That will help you in attaining a good speed in Excel. Okay. Okay, now moving here. So what we just now did is we wrapped cell, okay, from here. So we were in the home tab. Okay, so these are called the tabs, like home, insert, page layout. Okay, now in home tab, in the alignment group, so this is the group name: alignment, font, clipboard. These are the groups. Okay, you see this vertical bar standing here. So whatever there is in one vertical bar and another vertical bar, it is called a group. Okay, and this is the wrap text. Okay, so I clicked it, came in a single cell. But what I'll do now is I'll just go here. I want New Delhi to come in a separate line, not in the same line. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll click there and I press Alt Enter. Okay, remember, Alt Enter. By this, what happens is my I have two lines in a single cell. Remember, not in a separate two lines in two separate cells. Okay, in a single cell I have two lines. So I click enter. Okay, right now no difference. I'll just double click here between E and F when I get this arrow. Okay, with two arrows on both the sides and a bar in the center. I double click now. Okay, and I go here between 3 and 4. I double click here. So now you see I have a very good looking cell where the address is just the way it should be. Right now, a quick thing: address is below. What I'll do now to get it in the center? In the alignment tab only, you see it is down aligned. Okay, so bottom aligned. I click on center align. So you see it went up. Now if I want top align for some reason, so it goes up. Okay, so whichever alignment you want, okay, as per your convenience, you can take that. Also, so right now name and address both are left aligned. Okay, so address is big. Let me just take name. If I do a center align, you see it came on the center, and the right align, it took it on the right. So maybe I want to do a right align for my uh, headers. So name, address, and this will be left align. See, John is on the left. If I do it a right align, it will go at the end. So you see, right align. Okay, so this is how you can enter data into your cell. And if you want to now edit something, for example, instead of 1101, it should be 1102. So what you can do is either you go here where you want to change at that point and double click, your cursor will come. Now you can use your cursors in the keyboard to navigate. You can use the cursor to move left, you can right, down, or up. Okay, the cursors in the keyboard is something you can use. Or what you can do is, because this is very small and when you have big text, what you can do is now formula bar comes very handy. You can just go and just do wherever you want and make the change. Okay, so just go here and make the change to 2. Now this is easy. So we generally use formula bar when we have this big text, when we are doing text entry. At that point I'm saying that if you want to use formula bar, you should use it when you have big text. Otherwise, you can just directly write in a cell. For formulas, definitely we should be using formula bar. We will see that later. Okay. Now, you know how to enter data in a cell. Okay. Next, first, I'll just take cell height and column width, and then I'll come to sort and filter data. Okay. So when I say cell height and column width, if you see all these cells, they have a particular height. Height means from 6 end to 8 beginning, the seventh row, right? This is a particular height. And also from starting to A or starting to B, okay, A end to C beginning, this B. This also has a width, okay? Width, and then the rows have a height. Okay. Now, if you see for this row, third row, the height is big because we changed it. You remember we got this kind of arrow. Okay, if you see between 3 and 4 row at the starting, I have an arrow, and when I double click and change the height. Okay, or even if you have this in the column and if you double click, it will change the, you saw, change the column width. Okay, now whenever you have such kind of issues where you don't, where the column width and the row height are different or they're not matching, or like in the previous case it was too big, I wanted to get it small, so you can do this double click and do. Now, sometimes what happens in some companies, the column width is fixed. Okay, the column width is fixed, and for example, all the reports go out at the 20 column width, and maybe some 20 column height as well. Okay, so 20 column width and 20 column height. So now in this case, what you will do? You individually go to all columns and change their column width and individually go to all rows. Okay, this is a very tedious task. So what you can do is you can click here. Okay, this place between A and 1, this triangle is there. Click here and your entire sheet will be selected. All the rows, all the columns, everything will be selected. In this case, what you need to do is you come here on any of the columns, doesn't matter which column you are in, any of the column, just go. Okay, then you go for the column width. Okay, and then you can put 20. So you see every column has a 20 column width now. Now same goes for rows. Okay, so everything is selected. So I right click on any one of them. Okay, row height and 20. So now you see everyone has a 20 um, height as well. So this happens when you go into certain companies with certain fixed, rules. Okay, so this is how you can do column width and column height. Now another scenario, there is a sheet with such kind of rows and columns, and you don't want such kind of rows and columns. You just want how much ever space your values are taking for a particular column or row, that should be the height and width. Okay, so for example, a name and address for this D column, right? The biggest one is address, right? The value. So the biggest value address, how much ever space it is taking in D column, your D column should have that much width only, right? Not more than that. So for that, what we can do is we can click here again, like this is right now to select it. I again go to any of the column where the column, one column ends and another column starts. I just double click there, and do you see now? Rest all is though having still 20, but for D, E, and B, right? B is just 1, 2, 3, so it took very small width. Okay, but for D it is a bit big, and again E it is big. Okay, now see I did this with the third row. Now by doing this, what happened is, because this because I changed the row height, right? So this was hidden, half of it was hidden. Now I double clicked it, so this came into its proper place. Okay, also you see it for Neem and John, they also have a certain height, row height as per their data. Rest okay, and rest of every one of them, they have the same. Okay, now you know how to use the rows and the columns. You can hide your data. For example, if you have, like how how we had hidden the sheets, right? Same way you can do with the columns and rows. So for example, B, I don't want it to show, so I right click here on the B after selecting it from B. So you have to click here. Okay, this is how you select, and then on B only you click right click and hide. So when you hide something, what happens is, if you see between C, D, D, E, E, F, F, G, that is between other columns, right? There's only one line which separates. But here, if you see closely between A and C, there are two lines, okay, which will show that, okay, there is a column hidden. And also you can see that after A there should be B. It's not there, it's directly C. So what I do is either I can go here, okay, and you see now my arrow, the cursor also has double lines. Instead of single line, it has double lines. So I can right click, okay, I can double click, okay, and my hidden column will come up. Now a limitation with this approach is that is if you go to between A and C, I mean any place where the columns are hidden, and if you double click, only one column will be visible. So which means if you have multiple columns, maybe D and E, if you have hidden, so C and F, right? Now if I go here and double click, okay, so you see D and E came up. Okay, now there's another way of doing this is whatever you want to hide, you just click there and right click and hide. Also if you want to unhide, right click, unhide, so everything will be unhidden. Okay, so this is how you should be, doing hiding and unhiding of your columns and rows. You can do with a single column approach also, but for unhiding, like I said, for sometimes what happens is not all the columns which are hidden they come out. So at that point what you can do is you can just select the rows, sorry, the columns in between the columns are hidden, and then right click and unhide. Now you know how about the columns. Same thing you can do with the rows as well. Okay, same exactly the same operations, but now instead of columns you have to select the rows. So I select 2 and 3 and I can hide it. Okay, so this gets hidden. Now again you come here, you double click. Okay, so sometimes you might get all the rows which are hidden, but sometimes the click is not in the correct place, so only one of it gets unhidden. So the safest way is you select both the um, rows between which the rows are hidden, right click and unhide, the safest way. Okay, so this was about the columns and the rows, how do you use them. Okay, and now you know about the cell height and cell width. Okay, we will see about how to insert and delete rows or columns. Okay, after that we'll come to sort and filter data, because for that I need some data. I'll show you. So for inserting and deleting a row and column, right, you can go to any cell. For example, between name and John I want to add a column. Okay, I right click on E, I click on insert. Okay, so a new column gets added. Okay, this will be of the format of all the generic Excel. Okay, so you see D and E, the formats are exactly same, the column width is exactly same. So whenever you want to add a column, always select the next column, because if you want to select before A, you have to select A. Okay, so before A, insert, so you get one more column. So now one column shifts this side. Okay, so this is how you insert column. Same way for row, if you want to insert something, select the next row. Always remember, we always select the next object. Whether it's a row, whether it's a column, we always select the next object. So you select the row, you right click and you insert. Okay, so like this, I inserted a column between 2 and 3 earlier, which is now 3, and the third row moved to 4. Okay, so this is how we would do for rows and columns. Now to delete, what we do is we do select the row, right click, delete. Okay, same way for a column, you select the column, right click and delete. Okay, now there is a shortcut for doing this. Okay, there's a shortcut for doing this. So what we do, we select the column, okay, and then we click Control Shift plus. Okay, so what we did, we just selected the column and we did Control Shift plus. So what happens now? I add a new column. Same way, when you want to um, add a new row, you select the row and do a Control Shift plus. Instead of right clicking and clicking on insert, I do I select the row and I do a Control Shift plus. Now to delete a column. Okay, so when I want to delete a column, what do I do? Same way, I just press Control minus. Okay, I press. Let me just move my cursor away. So what I do is Control minus. So you see that row got deleted. Now, if I want to do for the column, I select it and Control minus. Okay, now there is a trivia here. Okay, fun trivia I would give you. So when we add a new column, we do on a row. When we are adding it, we do Control Shift plus. But when we are deleting it, we do Control minus. What is the reason of that? Okay, the reason is, if you look at your keyboard right now, you see the plus button where we have in keyboard, right, is actually above equal to. So if we have to enter plus here, we can't just press on the equal to key, right? We had to do shift and plus. That's why we do that's why we do Control Shift plus. But for minus, it is down only. We don't need to put shift, press shift when we enter minus in data. So we just do it, okay, without pressing shift. One quick tip, one more Excel shortcut. So when you are here, for example, F, and you want to enter between E and F, okay, so you need to select the column, right? The shortcut for selecting a column is Control space. Okay, the shortcut is Control space, and for a row, it is Shift space. So remember, for a column, see, you can remember it like this: C for column, okay, C for control. Because space is the common in both. Whenever you want to add a new column or a new row, you have to press shift. But how will you remember whether it is shift or control? So C for control and C for column. So by that you can remember, okay, for column you have to press control, and then you have shift. So obviously for row you can go for shift. Okay, a quick way of remembering this. Also, one quick thing, if you, for example, you want to uh, rename this, okay, not rename, you want to select this and you want to change it, change the height and the width. Okay, so you can put it here, okay, and you can do now. Right now I want to select only this two, this three. Okay, right now it is in the best actually. So I can just select only the columns and I can double click. Okay. So this also comes handy sometimes. So if you just want only for 2 columns or 3 columns, just select those and you can double click. Okay.